Have you ever been ready to record a video and you forgot what in the world you were going to talk about? Yeah, that just happened a couple of seconds ago, but I'm in the conundrum here because I support Mark Grisanti, Republican. I want him to win like crazy, but his position on hydrofracking really gets me going because hydrofracking is simply called hydraulic fracturing, and it's basically picture this whole screen as underground. And usually with drilling, they tap into the earth and they dig a certain way down and they hit oil. Instead of digging all the way down, not only do they drill this way, but they turn that drill sideways and they flood it with water that has so much, a really high concentration of like chemicals that we probably can't even pronounce, or has more words or letters in it than probably the entire English language. And in fact, there is a somewhat of like a protein that is like 1,000 characters long or whatever. I'm just thinking, why couldn't you just shorten it down to like maybe a word? Maybe it's a huge Latin and Greek and all that. They probably just strolled it all together. And I think in order to like show all of the letters that's in it probably takes like a couple of months to actually say it or do it or whatever. It's just that big. Well, it's probably as long as that. Some of those chemicals in there. And so not only are they drilling down this way, but they're also drilling along that way. And it doesn't surprise me that there would be earthquakes, because after all of that hydraulic fracturing is done, the plates kind of have to settle on one another, and thus, you know, a lot of times, you know, it shakes because it's moving. So and not only that, but Gasland has shown where people who have allowed hydraulic fracturing on their property, they have been afraid to go outside and light a cigarette because the gas is still in the air, and their water has been basically treated with gasoline, and they can turn on the tap and light their water on fire. And even there have been people who were having hydrofracking done on their land, and they started noticing that the water, you know, that they were getting really sick. And what they did was they took a cup of water out and said, "Here, drink this. You say the water is safe. Go ahead and drink it." And they refused. And there has been frack water sent to the Niagara Falls Gazette, I believe, that shows this frack water. And it was to be treated, but they never allowed it to be treated because they were banning hydrofracking during that time. This is one of the worst assaults on the environment I have ever seen, and Mark Grisanti supports this. That is what really blows my mind. Like, I can't understand. No, I can. He's probably been bought by the gas lobby in the first place. That explains it. And so is Tim Kennedy. Like, Tim Kennedy, the biggest reason why I want Betty Jean Grant to win is because I do not believe she supports hydrofracking. Many of the Republicans in the state Senate probably do, but I think if the Assembly passes this bill, I mean, I can't begin to explain what kind of money that this will cost us as far as water treatment, if there will be any water treatment plants. Because okay, first of all, I work with chemicals, okay? Those chemicals can burn you. They can really make you really sick, okay? If you don't have, you know, the proper gear to handle them, okay? This frack water, if it gets on that they use to extract the shale gas underneath the earth, that gets onto a farm or anywhere, it's basically Love Canal all over again, and it won't be habitable, really. Like, it will just ruin the land that's being hydrofracked. So Tim Kennedy and Mark Grisanti support this. They've been bought basically by that lobby. That's one of the reasons why I am really grudgingly and painstakingly thinking that I may end up going with Amadeo. I want to support Grisanti, but I really He was with us on the marriage vote, but I don't know if I could, in myself, vote Republican for him. Like, I would gladly cross the aisle and support him because he writes good law. But this is one thing that I don't think that I could walk away feeling that my principles are intact, knowing that he supports this practice. And if I were in Kennedy's district, I would vote Betty Jean Grant. Now, unfortunately, I can't vote in the primaries because of the fact that I'm conservative. But I'll put out those. I'll definitely put in my registration for after the general, or soon enough now for the general election. After that's done, they'll send me my voter not ID card, voter registration card. But I don't know if I can really support Mark Grisanti, even though he supported my right to marry. Like, I'm very conflicted, and I hate this because I promised to vote for him. But in light of this whole thing, that he supports hydrofracking, that really makes me understand that I don't think that he cares about the environment that we're going to bequeath to our children if he allows this to happen. And Arkansas hardly ever had, or I believe it was Arkansas, they hardly ever had earthquakes. Hydrofracking occurred, they started having them. Ohio, my friend Matt Chernsky, he lives in Ohio, kind of like the sticks, really. And he was like, I could have sworn I felt an earthquake. Ohio rarely ever has earthquakes. And they permitted hydrofracking, and look what happened. So, you know, and there is this phony documentary called Truthland telling you how easy it is and how safe it is. Yeah, that was also bought and paid for by the hydrofrack lobby. That's like me saying that high fructose corn syrup isn't, like, your body doesn't know how to process that because it's just sugar. Refined sugar is really difficult for your body to process, and that's really bad for your body too. But I'm really having a conflict politically, and I'm sure that that's going to intensify in the coming as the election looms near. But I'm not conflicted as far as who I'm going to vote for in November. And I'm pretty sure that if Ron Paul does not make the ballot, there are a lot of people who will vote for Gary Johnson, and that could split the GOP away from Romney, which nobody really wants him to be president at all. But if anything, that definitely looks better on President Obama, which I believe he'll win the plurality of votes regardless. But I'm really hoping that these swing states, they got to pull through for President Obama. Well, thank you very much, YouTube, and I'll talk at you later.